It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
All right, my friends, November 7th is election time, always a thrilling experience. And one of the things we've been talking about for many, many years, yours truly right here, is trying to give you an education. So let me just say a couple things before I talk to my guest here. John Keegan is running for City Council. This show is paid for by the Friends to Elect John Keegan. This is paid for by the Friends to Elect John Keegan. I also want to make mention that John Keegan's daughter does work for Mayor Cassatt. However, John's daughter was hired by Mayor Yanuzzi and is making a whopping $28,000 a year. One of the things that I would like to do, and we've been doing it with Mr. Shin, and also any councilman or council person who wants to come on the show, they're willing to, there's no problem. It's a paid show. So, John, with that being said, welcome on the show. We have exciting times, okay? I own a building here. My wife and I and our family own this building, okay? We pay taxes, okay? So with that being said, we're concerned about the roads, we're concerned about our safety, we're concerned about fire, we're concerned about police, and people who own property here also are concerned. And so with that being said, how does our government work?
Well, thanks for giving me this opportunity to speak to the citizens of Hazleton and surrounding communities who will be affected by what happens in Hazleton. I'd like the public to know that the form of government that we've changed to. Prior to this form of government, we had a mayor, council, commission form of government. Each one had a responsibility. When we changed the form of government, we now have one patterned after the president and the Congress and the governor and the state legislature. So the mayor is now the chief executive, or the president or the governor of the city, if you want to use that term, and council is the legislative body. They are limited in their scope of powers, and relative to the last form of government, and it's strictly legislative duties.
Okay, so now with that being said, okay, where does, you're running for council, okay? My question always to anyone is, you have a successful business, a pharmacy, Heights Terrace. You've been involved. Now, before you were the chairman of the Hazleton City Authority.
Yes.
Okay. So, what were your accomplishments as the chairman of the Hazleton City Authority?
Well, we reduced debt while I was on the authority significantly. I renegotiated the contract with the union without the use of a labor attorney, and the savings in just the health insurance was $238,000 the first year, and it continued, every year after that. We brought on the meter project. We started that, and we were able to get grants and loans to fix the system. And I think overall, the climate at the city authority was a lot better than it is now, because we had a better rapport with the workers.
So when you were as the chairman of the authority, okay, you instituted a few things that brought revenues back to the citizens?
Right. We instituted cost savings, like two different energy savings that amounted to over $1.3 million, I believe. I'd have to go back over it. I know the one was over $1 million. And in doing that, it helped keep rates down. The savings in the union contract helped keep rates down. Inevitably at some point rates will have to go up because the system is not at 100% replacement. So there's going to be projects that it's going to necessitate a rate increase. But I think that overall, during the time I was there, I was able to institute savings so that it would forestall the need for a rate increase.
Okay. Now, another question I have is, I do not know the internal workings of Mayor Cassatt in his office. Okay,
Right.
I only could look at what has been happening in the city. If you have a product, okay, or if you have a business that is losing money, all right, I think you and I know we have to address that immediately. Changes have to be made so you can make a profit, particularly if it's city government, okay? So why, and I know Mayor Cassett was on a show last year and said, look, we're heading for trouble, we're heading for trouble, I mean, he gave fair warning. I mean, you can look at the shows, you can see the shows, he gave fair warning. Why are we in such a mess right now? And I hate to use the word mess, but I think it's a mess.
Well, you have to go over the history of the city. The city is a third-class city under the Pennsylvania law. From until 2008, it was hamstrung at 30 mills property tax. It reached 30 mills in 1977. It reached 25 mills in 1972. So basically, its ability to increase income was limited. Fortunately, things like the terrace being developed, the shopping centers being developed, those brought in additional revenue, and we're not seeing that happen today. I have budgets going back to 2008, and just on the mercantile tax alone, the mercantile tax we're taking in today equals about the mercantile tax we took in 2008. The problem is it's $2017. So it's not the same as $2008. In reality, we slid back. The property tax assessment since 2009 is down 56 million. So we've become cash starved as a city, and that's what I think has brought us to this Act 47 junction today. People come up to me and they're, John, you got to cut, you got to cut. Yes, except there's a history. When back in the 90s, the streets department had 25 employees. It's down to 10. The fire department had 42. I think they're down to 20. So the director of administration had 6. He's down to 3. Just as you mentioned, my daughter's salary, previous secretary was $42,000. It's down to 28. Cuts have been made, but you can only cut so much before then you have to dig into the services that you want to cut. My brief stint on city council was during the budget process, and I exactly told them that they were putting voodoo false money revenue in the budget process, and that what services were they going to cut? Because it's a simple equation. And, you know, they talk about the senior citizens' property taxes, but what happens to that senior citizen when that police officer can't arrive on time, can't be there? What happens if the fire department can't be there? You have to weigh out all the challenges you face as a legislator. And you have to use the legislative process to not only address the budget issues, but the issues facing the city in general, the quality of life. The one thing about Act 47, the reason you arrive at that juncture is they define it as a dereliction of the duty of the public officials. And I believe that's one of the reasons why I decided to throw my hat in the ring, because I believe it's my expertise, my leadership, and my knowledge of budgets, how to deal with audits, to look at, to drill down and get to where the problems are. One of the abilities, and it's speaking of the new form of government that City Council has, is to hold hearings. Just like Congress holds hearings, just like the state legislature holds hearings. In the budget process, I would like to hold hearings and have the department heads come in and explain why their budget is where it's at, what their needs are. Let the public know why you are requesting these dollars. It's not simple, let's rubber stamp the budget from this year to next year. That's one of the things I instituted up at the city authority. I told the managers that you have to come, you're getting $0 in your budget. Come and tell me what projects you accomplished last year. Tell me what you're going to accomplish this year, and we'll work to get that funding for you, because that's what you have to do. That's your responsibility to the ratepayers. You know, it's and to make sure that their dollar is spent very efficiently, just like in my business. And I'm going to use the term business, even though it's really, there's two parts to it. I have a business, but I have myself as a pharmacy profession. So I want to speak to the business portion. I don't use the term profits in government. Government can't make profits. And there was a term people would say, you have to run a government like a business. No, because businesses are designed to make profits. You have to run a government using business principles. And
Okay.
I think there's a distinction to be made there on that.
With that being said, John, okay, as we look at the past, I've been here a while, a long time. Politics, as Ethel Price once told me, good politicians make for good government. It's unfortunate that we have, you know, if I'm going to vote for John Keegan, I don't want to vote for him because, you know, you're my third cousin. I don't want to vote for you because you're a nice guy. I don't want to vote for you because you have a great pharmacist. I want to vote for the person who is qualified. Now, if you happen to be my cousin, if you happen to have, then it's a bonus for me. We've had, you know, I talk to people and they say, oh, let's say he's a nice guy. Well, yes, we had a county commissioner who was a nice guy. He was lousy.
That's not qualifications.
Exactly. So, with that being said, John, how do we get the quality of people? Okay, first of all, I think anyone who's running for office should be applauded. Anyone, okay? But if you're running for a particular agenda that you're going to hire, you're this guy, or we're going to appoint my friends, and this is what you see. You have people who are not qualified, in my estimation, who are in positions. However, that's because they're friends of friends, okay? I don't think you did that when you were authority. If anyone you put on was qualified, if they happen to be a friend, that's a different story. So address that for me.
Sam, one of the things I changed at the authority was hiring practices, okay? It's traditional in this area that you run up to a board member and you say, can you get my family member a job? I stopped that because, first off, if I get 20 people coming up for one job, 19 people are going to be mad at me, okay? And to be fair to the system, I am not going to be there forever. So I told the executive director that it was up to him to do the interviewing and the hiring. We would ratify his hire, but he was going to be stuck with that individual forever. So he had to make sure he picked the best person for that position. Unfortunately, now they've slid back to it is friends going on different boards, it's friends getting raises, it's friends getting hires, and as evidenced with 2 council members are on 2 authority positions.
Who are they?
Dave Sosar sits on the City Council, and he sits on the Hazleton City Authority, and Grace Cuzo sits on Hazel City Council, and she sits on the Greater Hazleton Joint Sewer Authority. And I believe that you can only be a master to one. You cannot, you can't have competing interests. And as we're seeing, they're trying to commingle money, which is not supposed to happen.
All right, so how important is it that the mayor and council, they don't have to agree on everything, but how important is it that they, at least they work together behind closed doors or whatever the case may be? How important is that so we don't run into this kind of zoo atmosphere that we're having at these meetings?
It's tremendously important to make your voice heard. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not a politician. I'm a public servant. And there's a difference. It's not about reign, control. I've served on the Hazleton Area School Authority in the 80s and the 90s. I served on the Tax Study Commission. I've served on the Airport Commission. I've served on the Health Board. I've served on the Hazleton Housing Authority, the Hazleton City Authority. It's about giving different areas, different parts of the area, your expertise because you think you have something to contribute. But at some point, you have to say, you know what, give somebody else a chance. And right now, I think that there has to be total new blood on Hazleton City Council because Act 47 is a badge of dishonor on the history of this city and should never happen.
Well, the mayor warned the council.
Yes, he did.
The mayor warned council, and the thing that and I'm not picking on anybody because I know this is paid for by your friends, but the point is I want to be factual here. I know that when the mayor said to me that he had any communication with a particular council person for 2-3 months, and then you come to meeting and he's being shown something. That doesn't work for me, John.
Well, they've turned the council meeting into, I call it their Kirby Center.
Yeah.
You know, they want the mayor there to put on their dog and pony show.
Yeah.
In reality, The mayor doesn't need to be at council meetings. It's a legislative session.
Yes.
So it's supposed to be that you get your work done with the mayor outside of the council session, and then you take your legislative issues and the issues that he wants brought there, or she wants brought there, whoever is mayor, and deal with those issues. But you make your voice heard, and you try to compromise. There cannot be, without compromise, you're never going to get anywhere. You can't be the council of no. You can't be the council of obstruction. At some point, you have to work together, and not just with the mayor, with his department heads. You have to talk with them. I would talk with the managers up at the HCA all the time, because you gotta learn about each department's needs to decide what the city's needs are. You know, if the city fails, it affects neighboring communities.
Yes, it does.
And,
yes, it does.
And we have a responsibility. As you said, you own a business here. I own two different properties in Hazleton. I have a vested interest to want to move the city forward. We need to create jobs. We need to increase taxable revenue. Because the problem with a city like Hazleton is that the Pennsylvania legislature only gives them certain areas where they can institute a tax. Unlike Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, who can institute a sales tax, we cannot. So there's only certain areas that you can generate revenue. It just becomes a problem when you're looking at it.
Well, so some of the things that have happened in this town that are great things, okay? I'm here on Broad Street. We're seeing great development with the Hayden and D'Angelo brothers and their investment in the town. We're seeing a lot of great things happening in the development downtown. Jerry Speziale is doing a super job as our chief, and we're lucky to have him, okay, because there's many places that want him.
And I think we have to expound on that rather than use our council meetings as a Jerry Springer show. You know, it has to be something that you want to get everybody involved. You want to ignite everyone in this community.
You know what surprises me, John? You know, I had board meetings when I was the chairman of the board, and believe me, I saw politics at its worst. But what surprises me is we never try to go in a public to demeanor anybody. We had a person who was always objecting, but however, that person said to us privately, look, I have to vote against this, I'm going to make a lot of noise, disregard what I'm saying, but I have constituents. All right, he's a politician. I didn't buy that, but over it went. But when you have people that come into this area, that are looking to come into this area, that want to bring a business into the area, and then they see the zoo that happens at city council, to me, it's a total disgrace. Now, it doesn't mean that you cannot have an opinion, okay?
Right.
But the screaming and the yelling and the profanities at these meetings, okay? Like, it's just like, how could you even serve in office if you're going to disrespect the people in this area?
I have a contractor friend who was doing work out at Humboldt, and they had a $100,000 position open at this company. They flew in 4 candidates on a Friday to interview on Monday. On Monday, 3 of the candidates picked up their resumes and walked out because of reading the newspaper over the weekend. It was just not an area that they wanted to come to.
Kevin O'Donnell could tell you hundreds of stories like that.
Exactly.
And that's why I think if you have a concern, I may not like you. However, let's see what you have to say. It's like a doctor. You may not like that doctor, but he's going to cure you what you need. Okay. And I think, John, that's why with the shows here, I say, and then it comes down. He's this. He's your cousin. He's that's such nonsense to me. Okay. But vote. We're not looking at the qualifications of the. I know we have a lot of great council people running.
They have to stoop to the level that you and I are cousins.
Yeah.
That means that their gun has no bullets.
Yeah.
They can't speak to their record. They can't speak to what they've done. They've had to go to this level to speak to it. One thing else I would like the public to know. In looking at the budget, I don't think people realize that not 1 cent of their property tax goes into road materials to fix our streets. They rely strictly on liquid fuels tax
See,
money.
that's what people say. Well, we're paying taxes. How come our roads are not fixed?
They're relying on liquid fuels tax money, and only 20% of that money is used for road materials. The rest of it is allocated in other areas. And as a matter of fact, in 2013, only $86,000 worth of road material was purchased, despite having 120 miles worth of highway. Another thing I don't think people realize is that even though we have 120 miles worth of highway, we were only paid for 95 miles because our alleys are not reimbursed by the state through liquid fuels. They aren't wide enough. They have to be 30 feet. I got a tape measure out one day, they're 20 feet. So people have to realize that that's what's hurting our streets. They instituted a stormwater fee. Everybody was up in arms. What they didn't realize is there's 120 miles worth of storm sewer and 1,400 inlets. How are those repairs occurring right now? They're being stripped out of the highway budget.
When you say the highway, when you look at our police department, that I applaud every one of them. You look at our fire department, that I applaud every one of them. The street crew, all those people, they should, if they deserve raises, it's our street crew, because they are working their butts off and doing whatever they can. Frank Vito and his group, they're doing a fabulous job.
There was a proposal to have the street workers go up and do the HCA work. Well, there's only 10 of them. That means nobody in the city, no streets in the city would get repaired.
Yeah.
I mean, that mental process just escapes me.
All right, so folks, I'm talking to John Keegan, who is running for city council. And this is paid for by the Friends to Elect John Keegan, just so you know that. That's why there's no breaks here. John, so what will you bring to the table? Why should people vote for you for city council?
Well, one thing, as in my business, I'm required by Medicare to produce a budget, manage the budget every year, and I can tell you, in pharmacy, we have been inundated with market changes and reimbursement pressures that have us down now where I could put out a prescription for 86 cents. I had to look at my operation and change the way I do business, automate, find ways so that I could survive. I opened up my pharmacy in 1982. I'm still here, and I'm still gonna be here. I raised my family here. They went to the public school system. I am, besides married to my lovely wife, married to my community.
With that being said, okay, so now we're looking at November 7th. You know this is going to be a dirty election. Okay? I mean, it's already started. I mean, from what I understand at one of the council meetings where you had a person yelling at you using profanity, and I don't mind them saying, John, I totally disagree with you, but the yell, the profanities, and then you look at who's saying this, and you wonder, well, why are they so bitter? Even, both ways, okay? Let's calm down a little bit, and let's work together, and let's agree to disagree, John.
The problem is there's a cabal working, and I'm threatening that power structure. Yeah. Because it's not good government. We need good government. We need responsible government, and we need a government that talks to the people. If I'm elected on council, I want to have council sessions throughout the community. Even if it's not an actual council meeting. We need to hear from the people, because there are issues that we could fix legislatively, but we need to go to them. They don't need to come down to council, and council meetings are only a certain time. Things affecting the city are 24/7, 365 a day. Right. So we need to be out there and be proactive in helping the community.
So working with the mayor, now I could see why Mayor Yannuzzi wasn't going to the council meetings, okay? And people were saying, well, they were using him as a punch bag, okay?
Exactly.
And I guess Mayor Cassatt may be in the same similar situation, and forgetting, I don't care whether he's Democrat, Republican, it doesn't have nothing to do with it. But when you go to a meeting, I think it should be, a discussion. But prior to that, I think everyone should know what's going to come on the agenda, okay?
Exactly.
So when you have in a council meeting and you have public opinion, okay, how much time does a person have to say what he wants or what they want to say?
The problem the last council meeting I attended, they didn't let me speak. They kept talking over me. They didn't give me the opportunity. People should have the right to speak, okay? What's going on now at the council meetings, it's the same people getting up to the podium, reiterating the same points, and it gets redundant, and that actually hurts the legislative process, okay? I think, again, going out into the community and hearing the people's voice will streamline what happens at a council meeting. You know, we have to listen to the public. They are who we serve.
Well, they're the people that, you know, are paying the price. You have property owners here. You know, thank God we have a downtown as far as the development is going strong, where a lot of things great things are happening downtown, okay? But how about people who have homes in, you know, Alder Street or...
Well, that's another point. I don't think most people realize the budget that's passed by council is $9.3 million. Only $2.9 million of that is property tax, okay? And so people think that they're funding the whole city, and they are not.
Yeah.
You know, and I want that message to get out there. There was a ridiculous proposal that the county reassess Hazleton because their homes aren't worth what the assessment is. Well, I call it ridiculous because Hazleton needs $2.9 million. So if you cut the value in half, they're only going to have to double the millage to get that $2.9 million.
Yeah.
That's a ridiculous proposal, and obviously the person making it does not understand finance at all. They talked about an airport authority. Well, in order to create authority, you need bonds. That's how the Hazleton City Authority was started. It was $3 million worth of bonds in 1938. Imagine how much money that was. Well, the amount of money that would take to turn the airport into an authority would be tens of millions, if not 100 million, to repay back the FAA, and there's no revenue to support those bonds. Nobody would buy the bonds. So that proposal is dead in the water. And the airport is not costing the city money, despite what some are saying. If you look at the budget, you'll see that that's borne out.
I think that what they've done at the airport, and here again, Dominic Yanuzzi Jr. did a fabulous job.
On the terminal?
Yeah, he did.
Fantastic.
He did a fantastic job, and
there's people out there like Dr. Kislin. He's pumping money into it.
Yep.
You know,
Yep. It's a nice showpiece for us, particularly when these corporate jets come in and they're dropping these people off. You know, John, I got about a minute left. I know we're going to hear from you again. This is, you know, September, and I know you'll be around October and very active. You got a minute. What are some of the key things that the citizens should be looking to when they go to vote November 7th?
I think the most important thing is to look at the qualifications of the candidate. Don't vote for me because you're my friend.
Yeah.
Vote for me because you believe, you know me, you believe in me, you believe in my leadership, in my qualifications, and in my experience.
This was paid for by the Friends to Elect John Keegan, and the folks. That's why I say download our app, because some of you who do not have cable or have friends who are out of town and like to know what's going on in Hazelton, if you download our app at SSP TV, you can watch all of the shows. You hit Sam Lesante, you'll see all the shows we do, the girls, every show, Dr. Kislin's show, you name it, it's on here. And this is the importance that I think of a NAP, because it's local neighborhood news. And John, we're very happy to say that when you do the national surveys, of course, broadcast television is going down, network cable's not viewing, even national football games are not, especially now what's going on with the nonsense with these players. But local neighborhood news like this, people want to know what's going on in the neighborhood. So as I say to everybody, I wish everyone the best of success as long as we get sit down and discuss these intelligently.
Thanks for this opportunity.
Good, thank you. Folks, remember once again, it's November 7th. Know whoever a candidate is, every one of them, and then make the right choice. We'll see you next time.